Good afternoon. Hi, this is Maria Quattrone with Be the Solution. And today I am so excited to have my friend and colleague, Kris Lindahl from Minneapolis here with us. Good afternoon, Kris.
Thank you, Maria. It's morning here. It's 11 a.m.
11 a.m. Good morning.
Somewhere. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate your time. I know how crazy busy you are with everything that you have going on. And how is everything for you right now?
It's going well. Super fortunate. I have a lot of really loyal, smart people around me, which I'm just so grateful to have all of them helping support us on this journey.
And that helps us look smarter too, right?
That's right.
So Kris, tell us about your journey, your real estate journey, and how you got to where you are right now.
I don't actually know how I got here. No, I'm just kidding. I ended up on this live with you, Maria. I have no idea. No, I'm just kidding. So I got my license in May 2009, and I had a really successful career as an individual agent. By 2013, I sold 147 homes. 2014, I sold 175 homes with one assistant. And by the end of 14, I decided I couldn't do it without more help, more support, and really started forming a team. But, so I started the team in January of 15, with a national, franchise, brokerage. And it was interesting because I had no idea how to run a business. I had no idea how to hire people. I had no training. There weren't really many resources out there on how to scale teams. It was really challenging. I made a ton of mistakes along the way. And I don't want to abbreviate that path, but then in May 2018, I started Kris Lindahl Real Estate, our own independent brokerage. And it's been so much fun. And it's so interesting because one thing that changes it is sort of the perspective of how you look at things. And when I look back to the days of being an individual agent, there was a lot of success there. By 14, I was the #1 agent in Minnesota for individual agents. But I was lonely, right? I grew up playing team sports, celebrating with, not celebrating, being able to celebrate with anyone, not having anyone around you to celebrate those successes and wins, and even coming together, in those challenging moments. You just don't have anyone there for you. And so really evolving that team and then creating that independent brokerage, having a leadership team, having an incredible group of agents, their families, the community that we have, all of the support staff, the specialized people, everything that we have now it reminds me of how I participated in sports growing up in that team environment. And it was something that I missed in a really big way when I was an individual agent, and I was just a super competitive person and wanted to win, and I did whatever it took to experience success, but then realized that once I got that success, that it looked a lot different than I thought it did once I was there, and it became about more than awards and sales and money and all those things. And now it's so enjoyable to watch others succeed. It's one of the most rewarding things that I've ever done in my life is watching the growth in others. It sort of comes full cycle. I think a lot of the things that I did early on, I needed to do to get the company to this point. And now where we're at now, I am not a big part of the participation. Whereas in the early days, the company 100% revolved around me. And today that is not the case, which is a responsible thing to do from a business standpoint, because we have a lot of people and families that are dependent on us today. And so May 18 was the brokerage start, and now we're just a little over 2 years in, and we've got massive momentum. And at this point, we won't be stopped.
So, wow, teamwork makes the dream work, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So, Kris, that was you've done quite a bit in such a short amount of time. Where are you today with your company? What does it look like?
Yeah. So, what's interesting, and I would share this with everyone watching, is I think you really need to understand who you are from an assessment standpoint and who you are not. And then that also trickles down to everyone that's around you that supports you and everyone else in the company, because it's super important to be self-aware. And to me, and the reason I bring that up is it doesn't feel like we've accomplished anything. But if you ask people around us or people looking from the outside, it looks like massive success. But to me, because my personality is so high in the quick start, is so dead on as a visionary, things don't feel like they're going that fast. I feel like we're walking. But if you ask people around us that are more ops driven, that have different types of personalities, they feel like we're sprinting, right? And so I think that's important to remember, that you are going to have all different types of personalities inside your organization, and people are going to feel different ways, and that's completely okay and normal. But once you have a team of people that embrace their strengths and their weaknesses, that's where you actually get the most traction in the company. Because if you have people try to do things that they think they're good at that they're not, and their personality doesn't set them up for success, it can feel real sluggish, right? You've got people in the wrong, the thing you hear all the time is, right seats, wrong seats on the bus. And, a lot of that comes from really understanding from a personality assessment standpoint. So we have the right people in the right places, and we have people that are very well aware of where they're great and where they're weak. And I've seen in most organizations, one of the biggest challenges that companies have is that they have people that are really off base and maybe a bit delusional about what their strengths and their weaknesses are. And so you've got people that are trying to be all things to all people. And no one in this world is great at everything, including myself. Like, I have a lot of weaknesses, and I'm fortunate to have a lot of people around me that take my weaknesses and they bring their strengths so that they become wins for us. And so our organization today has a very strong leadership team, which I think is super critical. Especially, 2020 has been a challenging year, eye-opening year for so many. You have to have some centralized leadership. Like, you have to have decision makers, and things have to happen. And the business has adjusted. The consumer has adjusted. Technology has changed. And if you have no one, and you don't have a team that can make decisions and that can pivot quickly, you end up like a traditional brokerage where you have individual agents all over the place where there's no consistency and there's no one adding any value or supporting them. And so you end up with a lot of individual agents at brokerages that are feeling like they're lost or feel like their business is slipping away because they don't have any support around them. So having a strong leadership team is super important. So we have that.
So what does your leadership team look like?
So our leadership team, so we have 6 on our leadership team, 6 others on our leadership team. And that team consists of, we have Cassie, who's on the agent facing side. Cassie's our managing broker. We have Megan, who's in charge of all the growth in the company. We have Chrissy, who's in the financial and HR boxes. So she has everything dialed in from the company standpoint. We have Angela, who's our VP of sales, who really focuses on like inside sales agent, outside sales agent, quality assurance. Like, are we providing a world-class experience to the consumers? And so really, the way that we welcome people in the company and the way that we close out a transaction, like, our goal is to give that world-class experience every single time. And then we have Kat, who Kat is a just dialed in on the operations. And so she actually is working with our large corporate client right now. And she's structured and really built a beautiful streamlined business on that side. And then we have Katie, who's in charge of all of new agent training, onboarding, experienced agent training. We're really building out like a lot of really neat stuff to support our agents and help them grow. And it's And it's more than just real estate training. There's understanding and connecting with people. There's technology aspects of it. There's more streamlined services that we are providing to the consumers and the agents. And so there's a lot of things going on there. And then you have myself, who is the most extreme visionary out there, which is everything is super fast yesterday, move at rocket speed at all times. And so I need people around me like them that we can, there's somewhere in between the middle of all of it. That's really that place where you always want to be. And it's just, I feel so fortunate to have all of them around me now, because they help me so much in a lot of areas where I'm not strong, and it brings different perspective, and the collective IQ of our leadership team also helps us raise the bar and allows us to continue this, this hyper growth speed. And at times, obviously, I get a lot more of that credit because, I've been the face of the brand, and the company is named after me and things like that. But there's so many other people that deserve so much credit for where we are today and where we're headed in the future. And so that leadership team plays a huge role in that. And then from the real estate agent standpoint, we have 200 plus real estate agents, and we're so fortunate to have all of them, because you can have the greatest marketing in the world, you can have the greatest solutions, the greatest technology, but if you don't have the greatest agents that go out and take care of your customers, and really go out there every day wanting and willing to be the best, we'd fall short. So they're a critical part of everything we do. And then we have our administrative staff, and we have our support staff, and we have so many of them that are working so hard. We have our marketing team. There's just a lot of moving parts that are all here to support the consumers, but also support our agents, their families, and really our commitment to give back to everyone around us.
So you run your brokerage like one big team. So your job is not only to support the agents and their growth, but also you actually sell real estate, your company.
That's right. Yep.
And a lot of it.
Yeah, 100%. And so I think one thing that makes us unique is that that we are the size we are, operating in a team structure, which is once you get to this size, it creates logistical challenges, and that's why we need to have such strong leaders in our company to solve complex problems. But I fundamentally believe that the future of real estate is not individual agents, and the future of real estate is a team-based environment. And and for those watching that might be in real estate companies, team's a relative word. Team can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. I guess what I really mean is that in real estate, it's going to be very difficult to be a true solopreneur and wear all of the hats that are required to succeed, not only today, but also in the future. It's going to get more and more challenging. And I think a lot of people that may be in that individual agent seat are starting to feel that pressure, or already have, of like, this feels really fast. It feels overwhelming. The communication never stops. I'm trying to figure out how to generate business. I need a website. I need technology. I need all these things. And really what ends up happening is, for a lot of people, a lot of individual agents, it becomes a diminishing return. And it's not always money either, right? Obviously, tech and things like that are big factors in playing a role in that equation of creating that diminishing return. But the biggest one is time, right? The biggest one is time. And so as an individual agent, the amount of time that they have to invest into figuring out the direction of where the industry is going, learning how to create these things, and learning how to service a consumer in a time where things have become so much faster and so much different than the way that they used to be done. You're finding that a lot of agents that have tenure in the industry are really struggling to put together any sort of business anymore, because the convenience factor of business to the consumer is far more important than it used to be. And whereas you look at 10 years ago, loyalty was at the top of that list. Loyalty is no longer at the top of the list. It's more of that convenience, more of that technology, and all the things that go into that. And one of the big ones is some sort of team structure that allows you to operate and offer that convenience.
Yeah. So the consumer wants to hire the expert in the marketplace, the company that are the experts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you've already figured it out though, Kris, for the agents. Like, so an individual agent is coming into the business, even a few years in the business, or like you said, decades. It's taking too much time to get that momentum, to get the information. And then by the time that they figure it out, that information is old. It's not good anymore, and it's changed. And so your company is at the forefront of that. So you know what's going on, being boots on the ground and having literally your arms spread all over Minneapolis, but all over the globe. It's not just local to you. You know what's going on from a national landscape, and you're nationally recognized, just not only in your city and in your state. So there's a lot of that comes with that, and there's a lot that agents can learn from, whereas they're not having to reinvent the wheel, especially
one of the one of the biggest challenges in most industries is generating business, right? And we've made that look really simple when it's a lot more complex than it is. The other thing, because we've done so much volume, because we have invested so much in building a brand, we have so much more data than anyone else does. So we understand what works. We know how that, we know when we put something out, we know what the success rate's going to be. And one of the things that we hear often from real estate agents is they have this interest in building a personal brand. You hear it all the time, and I don't think many people know what that actually means, right?
What does it actually take?
Yeah. And so you might have,
tell us for all details.
Yeah. So one of the big things about building a personal brand is you have to have huge risk tolerance, right? So you have to be willing to start taking an initiative, building things out, putting things out there, knowing that you're not going to be profitable for several years, right? If you want to build a brand and you want to build it quickly and you want to invest in that, you have to be willing to invest everything that's coming into the company, and in some cases plus more, to be able to build that brand for the long-term game. But most people see that, they see that personal brand thing as it's just a short-term thing, like, oh, I'm gonna go get a website, or I'm going to send out these flyers, or I'm going to create this social media campaign or tech or whatever it may be, and I'm going to have a brand. What very few know is how long it actually takes to become a recognizable household brand. In the advantage to getting through that and breaking through that and becoming a household name and doing those things is very few can do it. And the reason very few can do it is because they fall short, they stop. The minute that it becomes, where it's they really struggle to get a profit, or the minute that there's these complex people and process type things, most people give up. They don't have the desire to break through. There's very few people that will win and will have a commitment to win no matter what happens. They can be completely out of the game and they will keep going. And that's the ones that you see that become the ultimate winners in business. And it's really hard. And there's been, throughout my career, there's been so many moments where back against the wall, super difficult decisions, critical points in my professional life where I had to make some really big choices. And I think anyone in business has had those moments, whether it's, brokerages or it's more financial, or it's more of like the mindset, the mental side of like, can I do this? Am I committed to this? Am I still passionate about this? Like, there's so many different things that come at you that you have to defend as you're going through these growth moments of trying to build a personal brand. And I think you see companies like ours, and it makes it look a little easy. And people think that they can go out and just do this. And the minute that they face that adversity, that first true test, they fold. And you see it happen over and over again, where you have companies that come out hot and they're like, oh, well, it's just this easy. We're just going to buy some radio ads, or we're just going to buy some billboards. And then 4 months later, they're gone. And 6 months later, they're gone, because they don't realize that it takes years and years and years. And the biggest part of building a personal brand, it's an illusion. What people see is what they think builds the personal brand. And it's not. It's all the stuff behind the scenes that actually builds a personal brand. What people see is the result of the process behind the scenes to build the personal brand. So what happens is you have people that go out and venture out and go, oh, I can see what what they're doing. Let me go do that. And it doesn't work for them because they don't have the data, because they don't have the people, because they don't have the process. They're just wasting money, wasting time, wasting resources, where they thought they had it figured out, but they were missing all of the ingredients except for what they see.
They're missing people, process, and systems.
That's right.
Right?
Yep.
Because you could do all the marketing in the world, but if you don't have the people, the process, and the system down, because the people run this process and the systems.
Yeah.
Right. So, Kris, you never wanted to quit, did you?
No, it's not even an option for me. Like, I don't even know what quit means.
You never had a day that was just depressing? It's like really bad.
Of course. I think we all do. I think I think there's been some challenges along the way, no doubt. I've never had a day where I wanted to quit. I've had a day where I'm like, I need to take a break today. Like, I need to get refocused. But one thing that I've been so strictly focused on is personal development and really growing my mind and my brain, and being able to recognize when I start going a little bit out of whack, and really dialing in when I have those moments of how I get back, whether it's calibrated, focused, or whatever word you want to use. And I bounce back and I get dialed in really quickly. And that's come from years and years of training. And I think sometimes when we see other leaders and we see companies, and we're like, how, like, that person was just naturally born to do that, or they have this gift. Like, I don't believe that. I believe that we all had a choice on what kind of education we wanted, and what kind of education we want ongoing. Like, whether that in today, there's, we can watch YouTube all day long, get as much free information as we want. We can listen to podcasts, we can read books, we can listen to books. There's so much out there that's readily available. But the thing is most people won't make those choices to advance, the learning and grow their brain, but they want to be there at the same time. They're like, oh, but I want that. But the choices they're making, they aren't making the right choices to be able to grow, to get to that level. And so there's obviously the things that we talked about, the people, process, systems, things like that. But then there's the desire. Like you either want it or you don't. And there's two different types of desire. There's words and there's actions. And a lot of people, like the desire, everyone has the desire in form of words. Everyone says oh yeah, I want this, I want that, I want to be successful. But it's the action that shows up far more than the words. Because I can't tell you how many people I've met that tell me that they want it, right? They're like the dreamer. It's like the dreamers versus the achievers. Like, the dreamer is going to tell you about everything they're going to do and how amazing it is, and they're so excited and everything else. And you've got the achievers that just take action every single day. And it's not attractive. In a lot of cases, they're not out publicizing that they're taking action every single day. But the ones that choose the words they want to tell you how great it is. A lot of them want to tell you how much money they have all the time, right? It's like there's all these conversations and things happening. And the ones that just keep taking action are the ones that win. Like in a prime example of this is you have in any industry, like when you have someone that is really shaking up the industry, really shaking things up, you have a company that's doing things way different. You're going to have people within that industry that aren't going to be a fan of what you are doing. And you see this so often and I see it often in real estate around the country, where a lot of the companies that are really changing the way things are done, a lot of the other agents, teams, and brokers, all they want to do is have conversations around what they're doing or not doing or things like that. And they're robbing themselves of that action that they could be taking. And the other part of that too is that, like, most people don't actually realize that companies like ours, how much action we're taking, right? They don't actually know how much we're getting accomplished. They see what they see from the outside. They know what they hear, the telephone game of this, that, and everything else that continues to change every time someone has a conversation, but they have no idea how much action our company takes. And I think that's the piece that people are missing, right? It's like there's all these other parts of the business where it's like, hey, like, well, I could do that, or I could do this. If you don't have the desire in terms of taking action, you could have people, process, everything else. It will never work. And then on top of it, where you really get massive success is if you have the desire in taking action and you have passion behind it. Like, where you're so excited, you run out of bed every day and you're like, I'm living the dream. I love what I'm doing. I love the people I'm around. I love what we're building. Like when you put passion behind taking action, you can't be stopped.
No, you can't be stopped. Kris, I found that the difference between the ones that take action and don't is staying in the business now and not staying in the business of real estate. It's very clear. You know, it's easy to kind of fool people with good words and lots of, you know, BS conversations. But at the end of the day, you either did the work or you didn't do the work. And you either took the action or you didn't take the action. And you made that tough call that you needed to do, or you didn't, or you were on that training that you're supposed to be on, or you weren't on it. And if you weren't on it and you didn't do it, your company's not the place to be. My company's certainly not the place to be for that. And it's recognizing that, because you could sit in the classroom or listen to YouTube all day or read any book you want. But if you're not taking whatever action it is behind it, it doesn't really matter. All the knowledge sitting here is not going to do anybody any good.
Well, and you see this. You see this. So I'm glad you brought that up, because you see this so often in students, right? So you get done with high school, and usually a family member or a friend or someone had this plan that you had to go to college, and then you went and got your undergrad, and then you got a job, and you're like, oh no, I don't want a job. Like I just want to go get more education. And so you have all, you know, it's like, let's go get my master's, my PhD. And you have people that just continue to go and get more information, but they take no action. And next thing you know, they're 10, 15 years down the road with a huge pile of student loan debt, and no job and a ton of education. So there definitely is a combination between being a lifelong learner and actually taking action, because you can't have one without the other.
No, you can't have one without the other. And it becomes clear as a leader and a visionary, you could see right away if your people, in your company are taking the action or they're not taking the action, when you're able to spot it much, much clearer than before. There's only a time that you can just give information without it coming to make sense, to have a result from it. I always say, you try to sit or stand. You can't. You can't sit and stand at the same time.
That's right.
Right? You're pregnant or you're not. I think one of my old coaches used to say that. And I used to be like, what? And then, of course, I said, well, that's true. She's like, yeah, did you send me the information? I'm like, well, no. She's like, well, you didn't do it. I'm like, you're right. I didn't do it. Acceptance, awareness, being open.
For sure. Yeah, no, and you're exactly right. And then, you know, and with that awareness and things like that it's willingness too. Like you actually have to want to learn. Like you can't just go buy, and this is why most people that go buy a DIY course on personal development, 80+% of them never open it. Right. It's like they wanted it. They wanted like sounded good. It was a good idea, but they actually didn't have the willingness. Like they didn't actually really follow through with it. Like you have to be willing to learn and willing to invest that time to learn, which is not easy. Like life's busy, like life's crazy busy for all of us. Like you really have to protect your time and really have to dial in that willingness to want to learn. Like, and you see this in some of the highest performers that I've ever had the opportunity to be around. You see this, like there's this sense of like, I just want to learn. I want as much, like they're just constantly asking questions everywhere they go. More information, constantly wanting to grow and learn. Those are the people that will always win. The ones that you run into that all they want to do is talk about themselves and success and everything else, those are the ones that rarely are going to be a high performer. It's the ones that are constantly asking questions. And by the way, the really good ones that ask questions, you can actually feel their presence and you know that they're always in full control, even though they're not actually even talking. They're just asking very limited questions, but you're like, this person's got it. Like they're just, and then what happens is, you know, you tie back into that taking action, they go learn and then they go take action with what they've learned. I've seen so many people that go to these events. It feels good. It's like rah, rah, like those events feel amazing. And they gain all this information and they go home and it goes in a drawer. And 48 hours later, they're just back to the way that they used to always do things.
So when you go to an event, Kris, you come back and your staff is scared?
When I go to an event, I'm taking action before I leave the event. Like, I don't wait to come back. Yeah. I mean, I think
I'm sending messages. I'm slacking and pictures right through Slack, right to the team, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't wait, because taking massive action is super important. But let's go back for a second. Let's talk about personal development, and what you've done on your journey through this. Because I've heard you say this a lot, and I've been practicing very intensely over the last 2 years. I have 2 coaches that I work with, one who you know, and so amongst a few other things I do. But tell me about your journey through that, because I know that's like your number one.
Yeah. So there's different types of personal development. Like you can go hire a coach. You can go buy curriculum, an online course, in-person course. If they're offering that right now, there's more of those types of things available out there, where you can learn from someone that's already done it, right? They've already been at a certain point. Maybe they've made a lot of the mistakes that you haven't made yet that they can save you from making. So there's things like that. And then there's also just what do you do on a daily basis? Like maybe there's podcasts that you listen to in the morning or in the evening. Maybe there's specific YouTube channels that you watch and that you learn from. And I do all of those, obviously.
Is there anybody that you love?
What's that?
Is there anybody that you love right now that you're?
No, because I go through them so fast that I'm always constantly moving on to the next one. So there's just like, to me, like, I'm less interested in like a channel name or a podcast name, and I'm more interested in like specific episodes.
Content.
Yeah, like specific episodes stand out to me more than an actual like podcast or a channel. And then there's all of that development, and then there's also the like, I'm going to surround myself with people that are very successful, that lead a great life personally and professionally. And so there's like this, and there's all different types of studies and quotes around, you're a sum of X number of people that you're around, or whatever that may be. A lot of the things that I learn and a lot of the growth moments that I have are because of the people that are in my corner, that the people that I allow into that world, and that I'm fortunate to be able to spend time with. And when you have those things around you, that's where you get the multiplier of the personal development events, the classes, the YouTube, the podcasts, the questions, the experience, all of those things, all those combined is what you get out of people around you. They've had life. They have experience in a lot of these different things. So now you have everything that they've done to grow their life. Now you have that advice to get from too. And so I think that those are, to me, like, I can't say that at this point now that I have like fundamental moments on a daily basis where I'm like, oh, this is going to change it. It's just little things every single day from all over the place because I'm looking for it. Most people aren't looking to grow. They're not looking to learn. And once you change your perspective and you have that 360 view of like, everywhere I go, I'm trying to grow as a human being. And I think once you're crystal clear on that, it becomes a lot easier. If you go places and your mindset is like, I'm going to be on my phone the whole time, I'm going to be distracted, I'm going to talk to the person next to me, or I'm going to do this or do that, and you don't go there looking to learn and looking to grow and looking to contribute, then you're probably going to leave and you're going to feel like you didn't learn much. And you see this all the time. Even in our organization, we had some people that were with us early on, which we're so grateful for their commitments to us. And some of them are no longer here. And you see this, and they leave and they go elsewhere, and they're running away from their own problems. They actually think that going somewhere else is going to create more success for them, but they're not willing to look in the mirror and change their habits and change their behaviors, which is the ultimate root of why they're not getting to the next level. But instead, they think a change in environment is going to change something radical for them, when at the end of the day, the big change that has to happen is inward. But everyone wants to point at something else of like, oh, it's this or it's that or whatever it may be. They want to point at something else because most people are scared to look in the mirror and go, I have to get better as a person. I have to commit. I have to grow. And you see it over and over and over again. We're just such an excuse-driven society where we want to blame everyone else around us for the things that are not right in our life, rather than take action and control everything that we do.
Yeah, we are a society full of that. But so let's go to your movement, Be Generous.
Yes.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how that started and what you have going on with that today. So you're doing the school drive, and why don't we let everybody know about that?
Yeah, I absolutely love the Be Generous thing, and it's definitely taken a life of its own. Be Generous started as our number one core value at Kris Lindahl Real Estate, and about 2 years ago we formed a 501c3, the Be Generous Project. The website's begenerousproject.org, where we really we give back through our time, treasures, and talents to organizations, to people, to families, like you just had mentioned, our back to school project, where we knew that teachers were going to be in need of sort of clearing the list of supplies that they were going to need in sort of this hybrid distant learning model that most school districts are in. And so we started, what I love about this is we started clearing the list for so many of the teachers. But I believe ultimate generosity is where it takes a life of its own and the entire community starts contributing. And so what we saw is we saw other people that are fortunate to be in a position where they can give back as well, start clearing the list of other teachers too. So it wasn't just us that were helping teachers with supplies and those things. We started to see others step in and go, yeah, I'm in a position where I could help a teacher a little bit right now. And that's what I truly love about generosity. And that's getting back to that time, treasures, and talents, is like the treasures, like the money, like is the easiest thing to give. Like that's the simple one. It's the time, which is super tough, right? Like Maria, your commitment to spend this time today on here, like you had to coordinate your schedule ahead of time, book this, like the time is a really hard thing. And then the other one that you have is you have your talent. Like the reason why Maria is so great at moderating is because she spent time doing it. Like, and so now you're giving your talents of what you've learned back to your audience. And the same thing with the things that I'm sharing about the mistakes that I've made, the journey that we've been on, like now we're giving back our talents at the same time. And so I learned early on that in real estate, a lot of the traditional agents that I had saw when I first started were so greedy. Like it was just like, let me just earn another commission. Let me get another commission. Like what award category did I hit? And no one was talking about like, are we actually making a difference in the community, the people that are supporting us? And then you had a few that like thought they were making a difference. It was like, oh, this person gave this much money to that organization, to this hospital, to that foundation, to whatever. And it never felt right to me because there's so much of what we can do in this world. The biggest impact that we can make is by giving back our time and our talents. Like just by spending a few additional minutes with someone might change their world. And by giving them a little bit of advice of something that we may have already learned, a mistake that we had already made, that they don't have to make and that they can go and plow right through and they don't have to run in to those roadblocks and those dead ends, like that can change someone's trajectory overnight, right? And so there's just so much more than just giving money.
Yeah. How long has it been now since you started this movement?
Yeah. So it's been 5 years. 5 years. 5 years we've it was our number one core value, and it's been 2 years since it's been our 501c3. And it's been so fun to watch the growth of everyone in the community. Like that was I think like watching this thing take a life of its own has been truly special, because now there's like everyone's coming together. And I think especially in a year like 2020, I think we all can agree that we can give back more time, more of our talents, more treasures. Like we're all coming together as a society, figuring out how we can help one another. And so that Be Generous Project message is more relevant today than it ever has been in the past.
Yeah. If not today, then when, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, during everything that's happening now, if you can't step up and take action today, then I don't know.
That's right.
I think that,
yeah. And we realize, we realize that we're in such a unique position, regionally, but also in the real estate industry. Like there are very few companies doing what we're doing, and we're super fortunate to be in that position. I think what happens often is people forget where they came from, and you can never forget where you came from. I mean, I know where I came from. I know what those things look like. I still have a lot of friends that I grew up with. And so you have to stay true to who you are. And I've seen too often that when people experience success, they change. And that's one thing that I pride myself in, is that I'm the same person today that I was before I started. I obviously have learned a lot along the way. I've got a lot of life experience along the way, but I'm still the same, humble person that remembers that I came from nothing, and I have this commitment to help everyone around me. And I think that's why so often you see some of the people that a lot of people prefer to be around are the ones that actually have that story of coming from very little resources and things like that, because they stay grounded, right? The ones that are born into a lot of resources and things like that, have a different perspective, a different relationship with money, with time, and really a different lens, where people that truly came from very little have a different appreciation for life in the world, and for expressing gratitude and generosity.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's different. I mean, it's all perspective. And I think what I'm hearing you saying, Kris, is that you wouldn't want it any other way. But that's in the sense.
I absolutely love every part of it. Right. It's so fun. And what I think the thing I love best about everything that's going on right now is I am 100% certain that we are at the beginning. And that's what I love most, is like, people think that we have accomplished things. They have no idea what's about to happen. And I love that.
What do you mean by that? You're at the beginning.
So just when you look at
they think you've arrived.
What's that?
People don't believe that. A lot of people believe you've already arrived, Kris. So what do you mean by that?
No, so what I mean by that is the impact that we're going to be able to make with our Be Generous project. Like, we are just getting started with the things that we're going to be able to do in the community, the way that we're going to be able to give back. And then also, like, obviously, like, our company is at the very beginning. I mean, we're 2 years into this, right? We're 2 years into this company. What we're going to be able to do in the industry is super exciting, and having that relationship between our company and being able to self-fund our 501c3 is super exciting, because there just aren't a lot of companies, especially in our area, that have such a commitment to wanting to give back to the community. And so that's where I believe that we are just getting started.
Right. So you're also giving back to the community with your scholarship program. How is that going?
We are. Yeah, I love it. Like, so, there's also the real estate scholarship program that we've been helping real estate agents or potential real estate agents go and get their license. And Kris Lindahl Real Estate is covering that expense. And then we're also have invested in building out some really advanced training, where I'm certain that we're going to have 100% success rate of people going through the real estate scholarship and staying in the industry with Kris Lindahl Real Estate. So I'm super pumped about that. That's been great. And that's another thing that's just like staying focused to be generous and give back. Like, I wish that, when I was first considering real estate, that a company out there would offer to not only cover the cost to get my license, but also invest in me and help me grow and help me learn and sort of teach me the way that real estate is conducted, today and in the future. And I think that really doesn't exist in our industry. So I'm super excited to be able to play a very small part in making a huge impact in so many people's lives. But when I say a huge impact, that impact is far greater than just the professional side. Watching the impact personally on so many people in our company is something that's so exciting to watch. That's
awesome. So when they join the scholarship program, they have to be chosen, I would imagine?
Yeah. So there's a huge selection process. Obviously, we're really committed to our assessments. There are a lot of things that they have to do before we decide if they're going to be a fit or not. It's a long process, but those that are willing to commit to those things, we've found just have a higher likelihood of succeeding when they're willing to do the extra things. The ones that are willing to make that commitment tend to be the ones that end up having more success.
Right. And they're the ones that'll make the commitment to the client, right? Because how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Yeah, it's like, exactly. Like, right. It's like how you show up it's like how you show up the first day, how you show up the first day of training, how you show up the first interview. I mean, that's the way you're going to show up for your clients. That's the way you're going to show up for your family, your friends. It's no different. And so you can learn a lot about people. That's why so often there's a lot of conversation around first impressions, right? I mean, those first impressions are lasting impressions. And so I just would say for those that are watching, like, don't take those first impressions for granted. Like those are long lasting impressions. And so make sure that you leave the impression that you want people to have on you.
Yep, for sure. That goes for the house too, right? We tell our sellers, we get for one chance to make the first impression to sell your real estate. Let's go out guns a-blazing instead of like half-assed, which you see a lot. So it's like the systems and the process of your back office to ensure that your clients are getting the maximum exposure through your marketing and digital efforts in order to net them the highest value for their house.
Spot on. Yeah. That's why you do so well in your market.
Yeah. Well, we're in the infancy stages over here, Kris.
We all are.
Yes, we are. We are in the infancy stages and lots of exciting things to come for all of us, for sure. So I have another question for your scholarship. So when they come in, they have training. How many weeks of training are they indoctrinated into your culture?
Yeah. So the big commitment in our company is the training never stops, right? So the training is ongoing forever. There is obviously full-time training for the first couple of weeks, but after that, there's ongoing training nonstop through mentorship programs, through technology that we've built, through course offerings that we provide free of charge. There's always some way for people to learn. And one of the big ways is learning from a lot of our leaders in our company on how we built this, because there's a lot of agents that can come into our company and really learn how to grow their brand using the brand that in Minnesota, Wisconsin, everyone knows. So there's, when you think about brokerages and you think about what that looks like, you have a lot of brokerages out there that sort of tout like, hey, we've got this very recognizable image or this very recognizable brand. But when you actually look at it, like, you're like, well, what are they actually doing? Like, the only thing most brokerages are doing is they are leveraging the likeness of their agents through yard signs, right? So that's really the only way that they're building their brand. You don't hear them anywhere. You don't see them anywhere. And so you see this often where you'll have agents that at some point or another will be attracted to certain organizations because they think they have a brand. But I would challenge anyone that's watching that might be attracted to certain brokerages and others is like, what do they actually have? Because if you are attracted to that and you end up there and you think you're going to build a personal brand, you actually don't understand what a brand is, right? If you're going to go somewhere where they actually don't invest any money in branding and you think you're going to build a personal brand there, you're not actually going to learn anything from anyone there because they actually haven't built a brand. They say that they've built a brand because they have for sale signs in yards, but they actually haven't built a well-known brand. And you see this.
They're clearinghouse for the deal.
That's it. And you see it happen so often. And you see, and I worry for some of the agents that I've seen that have made these decisions, that think they're going places to build a personal brand. And they go to companies that none of the consumers know, that the consumers don't have any idea who they are. And it is so challenging when you have a brokerage that no one knows. And then you're trying to build a personal brand on top of a brokerage that no one knows. The easiest way to build a brand is to be partnered with a brand that everyone knows. That's how and so when you look at companies, the number one reason why companies actually market is for trust. And so when you have a well-known brand, that means that consumers trust you. And so if you're an agent, whether you're right out of real estate school or you're an experienced agent that's been in the industry for 15 years, when you insert yourself into a brand that's well-known, you have trust that's associated with who you are instantly. And that's why we're seeing in our organization, you can have an agent that just got into the real estate industry that is having massive success. We have an agent that she got her license in September last year. that's already sold over 50 homes this year in her first year of real estate because of that instant credibility, because she partnered with a brand that everyone knows. But then you have other people that make decisions to go to companies that no one knows who they are, or they're not investing in any branding and they think they're going to build a personal brand. It's like, one thing that I've said often is like, when you want to learn from the leadership team that is building the most well-known real estate brand in the region, as opposed to going somewhere else where people don't know who that brand is, but people get caught up in all these different types of hype and different things. And it's so interesting to see, it's so interesting to see and learn how people think and how they process, because there's a lot of short-term decisions made that are going to have long-term implications that they just can't see.
No, it's like, you can't see that saying, right? You can't see the forest through the trees. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you have to take a step back and rise above to look around and say, okay, really, what am I doing? Where am I going?
Yeah.
How is this going to affect my long-term career path? Because I think, Kris, everything that you talked about today is that your company builds career paths for people. So they could start out with 0 transactions, and you have a person who's just in your company in less than a year is going to close 50 plus homes this year. Houses.
No, let me correct that. Already 50.
Already 50.
Already 50. Yeah, already 50, right? So
that's pretty remarkable. And
sure.
If that person can do it, then others can do the same thing. So
that's exactly it. And one thing that we have learned throughout all of this is, once you build a brand that's as recognizable as the one that I'm fortunate to be a part of, is that you start attracting a different level of a person, right? So you attract people that can sell 100 homes in a year because they had massive success in their previous careers, and they didn't have to change careers. They wanted to get in an environment that was more rewarding to them, where they felt fulfilled, where they could find their passion again. Or maybe it was over the past 4 months where their job was eliminated, or they were on furlough, where they had some time to really think about, what do I want to do in life? Like, what actually brings me joy? And once you have a brand that's trusted, well-known, it's proven, the results are out there, they speak for themselves, you start attracting people that are A+ players because they want to be a part of that. And they can see where it's going, and they just want to get on board as fast as they can. And so I think the mistake that people think all the time and hear all the time is that they see companies like ours, I think like, oh, like there's these new agents coming in, they don't know anything about real estate. And it's like, yeah, but let me explain to you the success that they had in other industries before they entered this world. Like, they've had a lot of life experiences and they've had a lot of success. And that's why you're seeing people enter our world and really take off like a rocket ship, because they already have had success. And now it's a choice that they want to be a part of something special and they want to get their life back. And so you see that more often in our company than you have ever before, because of the brand that's been built.
Yeah, there's a lot of validity in that people coming from other industries can come in to a company like yours and hit the ground running, because they've already had the sales training possibly somewhere else. You indoctrinate them into your culture, into the real estate training, and they know how to talk to people, or maybe they're getting more education also from you to learn how to interact with others. But then I think what a lot of people miss is that a big portion of this business is communicating. And if you can communicate with other people and ask questions, then your success and embrace conflict in a loving way, then your ability to succeed just goes.
That's right. And so we're fortunate because you got two parts. You've got, today's world in the future is going to be about hiring people and a process, not just people. 10 years ago, you hired a person to solve your real estate problems, complexities, challenges. Now you hire people and a process. And that's why you can bring someone from another industry that's had so much success, and you can plug them into this streamlined process, and you cover every step of the way for the consumer, and it's predictable and repeatable, and they get the same experience every single time, which is world-class in our company. And then you add on top of it, we're so fortunate to have some incredible experienced agents that love mentoring and help coach and train others in the company, which is back to what I shared earlier about that ultimate generosity. Everyone's giving back because we have like-minded people in our organization. And that's why in sports, the best locker room wins. And that's why we're having the success that we're having.
Your number one core value, to be generous.
That's it.
And our number one core value is to be the solution.
I love it.
So
yes.
Kris, your time today with us was fabulous. I love hearing about everything that you're doing at your company and your leadership team and how they're growing, and you're inviting lots of amazing people into your company. And I love seeing the growth, and I know it's only just the beginning. So it'll be exciting to watch from the sidelines what will happen over the next decade with your firm. I hope that we can come visit you sometime in the near future when things, I guess, get a little bit less crazy.
Yeah, no, of course. And I wanted to say, thank you to you. Thank you for having me on here and allowing me to share with others. And also I would just say thank you to you and your team for everything that you're doing and bringing this type of content and this knowledge back to the industry. There's a lot of people in the industry that are probably watching these things and learning and growing. And, if you didn't make that commitment to your time and your team didn't make that commitment to giving their talents back, this information won't be out there, and especially for free. So there's so much opportunity. So thank you for everything you're doing as well.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I am grateful and I am blessed. And continue the movement of be generous, Kris.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Soon.
Sounds good.
All right.